Okay, this will be a quick one. I think last year I waited until after the first round playoff games to make any Your Season Is Over videos during bowl week. I'm going to do it a little different this year, I think. I'm going to spread them out a little bit because the Your Season Over videos are just getting way so long now anyway. But so I guess basically what I'm going to do is continue to do them on Sundays. So this one today for the games that we've had so far. Now we've got a week's worth of games coming up. Next Sunday I'll do another Your Season Is Over for those games. I think you get the idea. We'll go on like that, see how that works. So not a whole lot of games to talk about today, but it is Sunday during the college football season, and you know what that means. It's time to point and laugh. The Your Season Is Over video. The only weekly recap college football show that actually matters. All these other rainbow and unicorn, sprinkly, glittery shows that show highlights and, oh my God, this player did an amazing job. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but you can find that a million places. It's the only place you can find a Your Season Is Over video. No, we don't celebrate winners here. We point and laugh at losers, and not a ton, but a handful, and one hilarious one in particular, right? All right, so let's go through some of these bowl games that we've seen so far. And I'm going to let you know what I'm going to do with these helmets. A little something different for bowl season. We're not going to be turning them, moving them over to the table, I don't think. At least for now. Maybe I'll change my mind. We're not going to be moving them over to the table. Because as you can see, I've got my playoff helmet over there. A lot of people don't even know what that is. Florida fans, Tennessee fans, South Carolina fan, Auburn man. You don't know what that is. It's a playoff helmet. We're going to do something a little different. Show you in a minute. But let's get to some of these games. Yes, you already know. Copious notes in this. Yeah. So, UTSA and Troy. I'll admit, it's not a very interesting game when you look at it on paper. But if you watch this game, it ended up being pretty good. Particularly the end of the first half was just really, really crazy. If you watched it, you know what I'm talking about. UTSA lost to Troy 18-12. What a shame. Miami of Ohio. I can't even say the word Ohio anymore without laughing. Is Miami of Ohio soft too? I don't know. I don't think so. They're definitely not as soft as their counterpart up the road in Columbus. Let's not get distracted on that today, or else this will be an hour-and-a-half long video. Miami of Ohio lost 24-20 to UAB. Whippity-whoop. Cincinnati and Louisville. Oh, I don't have a UTSA helmet or a Troy helmet. That's why they're not up there. I do have a UAB helmet. Right. Let's see if I can show you. I do have a UAB helmet. Okay. So I do have a UAB helmet. However, I did not have a Miami of Ohio helmet. That's why it's not. That's why they're not up there. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Matters not actually. Yeah, 24-20. Okay, great. What about Cincinnati and Louisville? Man, I thought this might be an interesting game. This is a great example, I think, and I do have a Cincinnati and a Louisville helmet right there. It's time to do something unfortunate to Cincinnati too. This is a great example of how bowl games can be ruined based on what goes on between the time the season ends and the time the bowl game is played. Both of these coaches have done packed their shit up and move out of town. How can you possibly know with any certainty at all? I'm talking about trying to predict games, or God forbid you actually bet on that game. How do you actually know with any certainty at all how these teams are going to perform without their coach? Never mind the quote-unquote opt-outs, which is just, a woke word for quit. That's all it is. All you dummies who keep saying these players are opting out and they're not quitting, they're making business decisions. Opting out is just woke code for quit. You might agree with the reasons that they quit, and that's a whole other issue or debate that we can logically have. But to just deny they're quitting is brain dead. You're just using woke terminology to define quitters. So it becomes impossible, but I thought that might be a good game when the bowl games were announced, Cincinnati and Louisville. Turns out it wasn't. Cincinnati got absolutely destroyed, 24-7, And unfortunately for the Bearcat, man, wasn't this their last game as a group of 5 team too? What a way to be remembered. Look how we have to do you now. Jeez. Welcome to the Big 12, I guess, Cincinnati. But your helmet's going to have to go ahead and remain upside down until the end of bowl season. Thank you for trying, but you failed, and you failed miserably. You lost to the bird with teeth. Louisville. It's not Louisville, woo. Let's see. Washington State lost 29-6 to Fresno State? That can't be right. That can't be right. I had to have looked that up wrong. Let me double check that. That can't be right. Washington State. Nope, it's right. Jesus. Oh, man, the Pac-12. More on the Pac-12 in a minute. The Pac-12 is a little too big for their britches. Look, I'm going to laugh at Florida. I'm going to laugh at Florida, okay? They deserve it. The Pac-12 is a little too big for the britches right now. Yeah, well, I'm going to have to bring them back down to reality a little bit. Washington State lost to Fresno State 29-6. I have a Washington State helmet. It's right there somewhere. I guess you can. It's on the floor, probably where it belongs. Yeah. But I didn't have a Fresno State helmet, so I didn't have the helmets up there. So that's that. So I mean, look, it kind of belongs on the floor anyway. So what's the point of turning it upside down? Just leave it on the floor. You got humiliated. Let's see. Food lost to Southern Miss. That's good. I have neither a Food nor a Southern Miss helmet. Food is Rice, by the way. 38-24. Rice lost to Southern Miss. Congratulations, Southern Miss. SMU and BYU. The game of the day. The game of the day. Initials versus initials. SMU. BYU. What a great game this was. How many people stayed up to watch that? I don't know. Some people asked me to stream it earlier in the day. I probably would have if I didn't have that Christmas party obligation I had to go to. The whole white elephant gift exchange deal. Another story for another day. But this ended up being a great game. But SMU did go ahead and lose 24-23. But this was it's one of those deals where SMU scored at the end of the game, and that made it 24-23, and they had a choice. Kick an extra point, tie it up, it's a bowl game, send it to overtime, or screw it, let's just get it over with now and go for 2. They went with option number 2. Screw it. Went for 2. Unfortunately for SMU, they didn't get it. And SMU lost to the Bicycle College. SMU, I'm sorry. Boy, they miss Sonny Dykes, don't they? A lot of y'all watching this video right now, and this is pathetic, but a lot of y'all watching this video right now don't even know who Sonny Dykes is. You're huge football fans, though. But yeah, they miss Sonny Dykes, because look where SMU is now. Playing in a pre-Christmas bowl game, losing to the Bicycle College. And look where Sonny Dykes is. Again, a lot of you don't even know who Sonny Dykes is, so that'll go right over your head. But that's fine. North Texas and Boise State. Okay, Boise State beat North Texas. Now, for the reason you're all here, what in the hell? Sunbelt Billy, can I ask you something? You know what? I almost started this video out with a question. I was going to start this video out by saying, Sunbelt Billy, what are you doing? Then I remembered he can't answer that question on account of the fact that, well, he doesn't know what he's doing. And this might come as a surprise to Florida man who's had his head buried in the sand for the better part of the last 6 months, 8 months. I mean, I've been telling the Florida man, look, Billy Napier's not going to work out in Gainesville. There's a GoFundMe already started for his buyout on Twitter. I mean, now he's not getting fired, so we can just stop that right now. But he's on the hot seat entering next year. Facts. He's on the hot seat already entering year 2. This was a complete disaster and failure of a season for Billy Napier, year 1 at Florida, in every imaginable way. There is no silver lining. There is no the glass is half full. This was a full-on face plant by Sunbelt Billy in year 1 at the Swamp. Period. Period. when you peak in week 1, it's over. And that's what you did. And we'll get more to that in a second when it's time to sit the Pac-12 man down and humble him a little bit. But the losses at the end of the year, a loss to Florida State, you friggin' lost to Vandy, you're blown out by Georgia. The loss is just on and on and on. Losing season in your first year in Gainesville for Sunbelt Billy. You finished the year 6-7 after an absolutely just humiliating, just absolute annihilation at the hands of Leave It to Beeve. You lost to Oregon State. Not only did you lose, you got absolutely blown out and destroyed by Leave It to Beeve. The Oregon State Beavers whipped you for 3.5 hours in front of whoever was watching, which probably wasn't that many people because you're playing in this pre-Christmas bowl game. Maybe that's the saving grace for you. I don't know. But I'm here to make sure everyone knows you got embarrassed, whether they watched the game or not. You lost 30-0. You lost 30-0. Kicking that moral victory field goal at the end of that game, Florida, might be the single saddest thing I have ever seen in the history of college football. Florida has this streak going back to 1987 or 1988 where they haven't been shut out. The closest they've come recently, you go back to, I believe it was 2017 against Georgia. Georgia was beating them 42-0. 42-0. We had band members playing defense at the end of the game. Florida is out there trying to win the Try Hard Award of the year with a couple of minutes to go in the game, and they scored. And they ended up losing 42-7, keeping that shutout streak in line where they haven't been shut out since. But yesterday was even worse. Yesterday was even worse. Had you scored a touchdown there at the end of the game, okay, fine. Fine. Yeah, Oregon State was in give-up mode and the game was over, but you went for it and you scored a touchdown, fine, you earned it. Florida's down 30-0 with 40 seconds to go in the game. And they kick a friggin' field goal. The spread was only 7, 8, 9 points, depending on when you bet the game and where you bet it. So this isn't a situation of Sunbelt Billy trying to, give the Florida fans who bet money on Florida some kind of a win, a betting win. No, the field goal made it a 27-point loss. You were only an 8 or 9 point underdog. There was nothing you could do. The betting angle had been over. Florida was going to lose that game betting-wise long before the game actually ended. Nope, it was purely it was masturbation. That is all it was. Florida State kicking that field goal at the end of that game was pure masturbation. It was self-pleasure. That's all it was. That's it. And I'm not surprised that a guy who had to stencil in his beard 10 minutes before that game started yesterday had to lower himself to that level. Masturbating himself on national television by kicking a field goal with 40 seconds to go in a game that he was losing 30-0. Humiliating. Humiliating. This game didn't matter, woo. Meaningless bowl game, woo. We had players sitting out, woo. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and agree with you on part of that. I don't think Florida showed up for this game. I don't think they were interested in it. I don't think Florida man was the least bit interested. Why? Because they had quitters? No. Because Sunbelt Billy's their coach? No. Because they were 6-6 and playing in a pre-Christmas bowl game? No. Because they knew they were going to lose anyway because Oregon's 9-3 and actually a decent team? No. That's not why Florida man was not interested in this game. You want to know why Florida man was not interested in this game? Because of this. Because of that right there. You know what that is? That's a beaver. Florida man ain't got no fucking interest in a Beaver. If it was the Oregon State Dicks, Florida would have showed up ready to eat. Florida ain't got no interest in rolling around with the Beavers. No. No. Yeah. You take that Beaver off and put a cock on there. If this was the Oregon State Dicks, Florida would have been ready to roll. Troll. Boy, you got humiliated. 2020. Florida has a decent year. In fact, they even won the SEC East, which is a miracle. The only year Georgia hasn't won it in the last, 6 seasons? Has Georgia really won the East 5 of the last 6 years? 17, 18, 19, 21, 22. Yep. But Florida won it in 20, right? Huge bowl matchup announced with Oklahoma. The Orange Bowl, I believe it was. It looked like, when the game was announced, one of the best games of the postseason. Florida's entire offense quit. They just walked away. And it ended up being an absolute destruction. Blowout. And I remember telling the Florida fan, because, oh, well, I don't care. We got blown out by Oklahoma. All of our players quit. I said, yeah, you know what that means? This is a sneak peek, dummy, of next year. What you're watching against Oklahoma is a sneak peek of next year, dummy. And guess what? Florida sucked the next year. In fact, they sucked so bad, they fired Dan Mullen. Well, guess what, Florida? You know what you saw yesterday against Oregon State? The Leave It to Beavs. You saw a sneak peek of next year. Your best offensive lineman sat out yesterday. Florida was look, as bad as Florida was this year, they were a decent running team. Florida was a decent running team this year. ETN looked good. What's the other? Montrell Johnson, is that his name? He looked good. Of course, Anthony Richardson can take off running. He can't complete a pass to save his life, but he could run around a little too. Now, he didn't play in this game. But you had a decent running game this year. Well, the two running backs played yesterday. Your best offensive lineman quit and didn't play. What effect did that have on this game? Well, let's take a look at the tail of the tape. What? 39 yards rushing. Not in the first quarter, not in the first half, for the entire game. 39 yards rushing. In fact, you only had 220 yards of total offense the entire game. This is a sneak peek of next year. It's a sneak peek of next year. Ricky Pearsall, what's he going to do? Is he coming back? He is the only decent thing you have outside the tackle box at Florida. Your offensive line is garbage. And now, can we talk about your quarterback, Jack Legg? This Jack Legg is absolutely horrible. No wonder he was buried on your depth chart so far down that no one even knew he existed until yesterday at 2:30 afternoon. This dead body, I don't even know what he was doing out there. He can't throw, he can't run, he's not elusive in the pocket. It seemed to me like at least 6 of the 45 false start penalties Florida had were his fault. He's fumbling snaps. He's trying to throw the ball out of bounds, but not throwing it far enough out of bounds to the point where it nearly cost him 2 interceptions. Absolutely horrible. A throwaway from Ohio State. And, of course, the only reason he played is because Anthony Richardson, for reasons unknown to anyone with a brain, is entering the NFL draft. And your backup quarterback, of course, has been kicked off the team, so you were forced to start this Jack Legg. You say, well, he's not going to play next year. We're going to bring in somebody through the transfer protocol. Woo! You better be on your hands and knees praying you get somebody down there in the transfer protocol, because Jack Legg is absolute garbage, and Jalen Rashada is likely to end up the same. There's no way you're playing Jalen Rashada next year as a true freshman behind that offensive line. Bring an offensive lineman into the transfer protocol. Woo! What are you going to do? Bring everybody in the transfer protocol. Hey, what? Did y'all see that? I knocked on the phone and turned the damn camera around. What if nobody wants to go there? Grayson McCall. Grayson McCall was in Auburn this past weekend, quarterback from Coastal Carolina. If you're Grayson McCall and you've got 1 year of eligibility left, are you really looking to waste it in Gainesville? Or do you want to go play for Hugh Freeze? That seems like a pretty obvious answer to me. You know what would make perfect sense in the swamp? DJ, the ukulele. From Clemson. DJ would make perfect sense. He's the closest thing to Anthony Richardson in all of college football right now, with the exception of Jalen Mildew at Alabama, and he's not in the transfer portal. So you have to settle for DJ Ukulele, an oversized galoot that can throw the ball 90 yards but can't complete a pass. That's what you need. That's what you had in Anthony Richardson. That's what you need. So I don't know. But it was what you saw yesterday was a preview. This was absolutely abysmal by Florida. The second quarter of this game, Florida had 2 yards total. 2! But don't worry. Don't worry. You had 2 yards in the second quarter. Halftime comes around. You can count on Sunbelt Billy. True sign of a great coach, right? Makes halftime adjustments. Let's take a look at what didn't work in the first half. Let's make some changes and tweak it. Let's take a look at what did work and do more of that in the second half, right? You can count on Sunbelt Billy. Good head coaches take advantage of halftime. We're going to see changes. We're going to see adjustments. 2 yards of offense in the second quarter. Florida comes out in the third quarter, and guess what? They had 2.5 times as many yards. That's right. Billy Napier's halftime adjustments were worth 2.5 times the number of yards they had in the second quarter. Now, you're sitting there trying to do that math. Let me do it for you. They had 2 yards of offense in the second quarter. In the third quarter, they had 2.5 times that. What's 2.5 times 2? Not 1. No, it's not 1. 5. He had 5 yards of offense in the third quarter. Billy Napier goes into halftime, talks to Jack Legg, explains the situation to him, talks to the offense, talks to the offensive line, talks to the defense, probably talked to himself half the time too. Comes out in the third quarter, and what does he give you? 5 yards of offense. 2 yards of offense in the second quarter, 5 yards of offense in the third quarter. Total yards, not passing yards, not rushing yards, not whatever else. Total. 7 total yards between the second quarter and the third quarter. Just absolutely humiliating. Jack Legg had a 28 QBR. Florida's the new Tennessee. They change coaches every 2 or 3 years. Florida's at what, 4 coaches in the last 8 years now? What a disaster. What a disaster. The best head coach Florida's had, this is how bad it's been at Florida. The best head coach Florida's had since Urban Meyer, which was over a decade ago, by the way. The best head coach Florida's had since Urban Meyer is Jim McElwain. Just let that sink in. Jim McElwain won the SEC. Jim McElwain was the head coach of Florida for 3 seasons. 2 of those 3 seasons, he won the East. That means only 1 year he didn't win the East. Jim McElwain is the best coach Florida's had since Urban Meyer. Billy Napier's not the answer. He's in over his head. He never should have been hired for this job. And like I have been reiterating time and time again to you idiots, he doesn't know what he's doing. Florida, your season is over.